Shalom. Just was sitting here meditating on some things and listening to some worship music, and Ruach HaKodesh was speaking, and he was talking about fear and how Hashatan and the other fallen angels control those who are part of Babylon through fear, which is obvious. We know that. We've been known that. That's the reason why it's so many diseases and all kinds of things going on out here in this world, wars and rumors of wars and all this other stuff, to get you to fear so that you will fall in line with his agenda instead of falling on your face and falling in line with the will of Abba Yahuwah. Point blank period. Through submission unto Yahusha HaMashyakh. But I said that to say, like, it seems like ever since that covenant was broken with me, like, so many things have come up in my life alone, not even to mention like the things going on worldwide or even nationwide, that has tried to get me to fear. Like, where I work, the city that I work in, there's this dude now that's singling out women that are driving by themselves and running them off the road and abducting them. And my manager, she had came, the same manager, matter of fact, it was the same conversation when I was talking to her about, why I do the things that I do, who I worship, and, what being an Israelite is really about. And it was that same conversation. Matter of fact, that's how the conversation originally started. She was coming to tell us about this. And I kept telling her, I was like, he ain't finna take me. And she kept saying, well, he will take you. And I kept looking at her. I said, no, he won't. Like, like, what you mean he will take me? Like, you don't have control over that. But I'm just like, I was thinking about that conversation. And like right now, I'm driving to work and I'm driving down the access road that leads to my job. Like, I could go up to the next exit and then get off, and it's a lot of people, but I choose to go this way because it's less traffic, and the intersection where you get off at, people just don't be paying attention and they get into an accident. Like, I mean, I just don't feel like dealing with that, so I always take this route. But the enemy kept trying to be like, oh, well, you're going to get ran off the road and you're going to get taken. I was like, no, I'm not. What are you talking about? Like, this is the route that I take all the time. You want me to divert my route so you could try to throw another monkey wrench into no, I'm finna stay on the same route, the same path that I was told to be on. Like, if I change routes because of that, like, I'm not scared. I'm not scared. And changing my path and my route would mean that I'm scared. I'm not scared. And the more I reject that covenant that fear is trying to make with me, the more stuff keeps happening. Like, even last night, I had a dream. I'm not going to go into the fullness of the dream, but I just remember, I remember more than what I'm about to tell you, but towards the end of the dream, I was in my house. My son was somewhere safe. I don't know where my dad was. My son wasn't with me, but I knew he was somewhere safe. And I was trying to find my phone and my keys because there was a tornado coming and I knew I needed to get out of my house. And once I was finally able to find both of those things, wow, it's a lot of people here today. Once I was able to find both of those things, I went to go outside, and literally the base of this beast of a tornado was slow grinding right next to my house. And at first I was kind of like, oh crap, it's right there. I'm sorry, you guys, it's just that sun is like, hello. So yeah, like, it was just like right there, like right there. And like, there was literally no place for me to go. And because of how huge it was and how powerful it should have been, I'm like I'm finna die. That was literally the first thing that was going through my head. But then right when I went to go back inside to at least attempt to find some place to hide, I realized, I said, there's no wind. Like, it was right there, and it looked so intimidating, and it was just so like, I'm coming to destroy you. But then I was like, there's no wind. And a tornado with no wind is a tornado with no power. It was a beast of a tornado, but it had no power. And as soon as I realized in the dream that it had no power, it literally disappeared. Not dissipated. It didn't dissipate. It disappeared. Like no more. All of a sudden, it was just a whole bunch of cars driving down the road and everything, like it was never there to begin with. So what am I saying? Like, the enemy wants you to be afraid. He herds the citizens of Babylon around through fear mongering. There's fear everywhere. And the thing about it is, there's a type of fear that we don't like, but then there's fear that people, like because it's entertaining and it's, it's like a thrill, like roller coasters or horror movies, suspense movies, that's the type of fear that we like to have because it's thrilling. It's exhilarating. That's the word I was looking for. It's exhilarating. But here's the thing. It's a contract. It's a covenant. And you remember I told you Abba Yahuwah broke my covenants. And it seems like ever since he broke those covenants, like they've been trying to come back with a vengeance. But I mean, no, we're not going to do that. But remember, perfect love casts out all fear. Like, what do I have to be afraid of? I'm not afraid of my father in the sense that he's going to destroy me because he's my father. I mean, I fear him as far as respect goes because we are supposed to reverence him, which means respect him. But I don't fear his destruction because he's my father. He's not destroying his children. And there are two kingdoms. And there are two cities that represent both those kingdoms. We know that the city that represents the kingdom of Yahuwah is Jerusalem, but the city that represents the beast is Babylon. And you're either a citizen of one of those two kingdoms. And although I may be in Babylon, I'm not a citizen of Babylon. And this is for anybody else who this applies to. Like, you don't have to be afraid of the king of Babylon. Because he has no hold over you. He has delegated authority, and his delegated authority on Yahuwah's children, he can only do stuff to us if Yahuwah allows it. That's it. Now, if you're a citizen of Babylon and you still got contracts and covenants with the kingdom of dark with Babylon, then unfortunately you are subject to your king's rule. And there's nothing that I could do about that. Like, you have to fall on your face before Yahusha HaMashyakh. You have to dedicate your life to Yahusha HaMashyakh so that you could be set free. Like, that's nothing to do with me. I'm letting you know, though, like, as long as you hold them contracts with Babylon, and as long as you are not submitted to Yahusha HaMashyakh, and you are not a child of Yahuwah, you will continue to be tossed to and fro by these waves, by this flood that the enemy is rushing in like a flood. Ultimately, it's the hand of Yahuwah, but he allows the enemy to do his dirty work. Like, the enemy still works for Abba Yahuwah. Look at the story of Job. The enemy still works for Abba Yahuwah. He was just demoted. It's like being a police detective and being demoted to traffic cop. You still work for the police department. You're just no longer glorified. Because a lot of police officers, they want to become detectives because it is a glorified position. And they hate the position of traffic cop because it's like one of the most demeaning positions. So he went from being a detective to a traffic cop. Still works for the company, just in a lower position. But still has authority. And that authority is still delegated by the police chief. I'm just saying, like, I hope that I'm putting this in terms that everybody can understand, because I don't know if y'all are paying attention, but it's some stuff going on. And the beginning of my dream, like, I'm not going to tell you the middle part because that's not necessary, but right before all this tornadic activity and stuff had happened, I remember that I was with some people. I want to say it was, I can't remember. It was either coworkers or family. I can't remember who it was, but I was definitely in a hotel room, and I don't think I was working. I think I was like in the hotel room, but I kept saying I have to get to California. Like, for whatever reason, I felt a strong urge to go to California. So I'm just going to say, man, pray for the residents of California. Pray for the residents of California. I don't know what's going on. I haven't been given the privilege of having any of that information. I just know, like, in my dream, I strongly needed to go. Like, I just kept like, and no, I know Abba Yahuwah is not telling me personally to go to California, because let me tell you how I know that. He finally gave me the revelation about my car. I remember I was frustrated one day, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to take my son to his father's house, and I'm just going to go live in my car. You know, basically, so the state and the city that my son lives in, like, I have nowhere to stay down there. And believe it or not, there's a lot of people living in their cars. I thought it was just me when I was in Michigan, but there's a lot of people. Like, you can go on YouTube right now and you can find a lot of people living in their cars. So I was, you know, I definitely don't want to live in my car with my son. So taking him to his dad's house, if I were to move back down there, would be the most selfless thing for me to do, because at least my son would have a roof over his head, and I would just, you know, I'm a grown woman. I can take care of myself. I can sleep in my car. Shoot, I don't care about that. But I said all that to say, I remember, like, this morning, or it might have been last night before I went to bed, one of those two, all of a sudden that conversation that I had with someone came back to my mind, and it was right after that conversation that my car stopped working. And it wasn't until, like now it makes sense, because like I said, we can't figure out what's wrong with the car, because Abba was like, you're not finna go back down there, and your son is not finna go with his dad. He finna stay with you. You finna stay where you're at. And you're finna complete this assignment. That's what you're gonna do. That's what you're gonna do. I don't care how frustrated you are. Sit down somewhere. Like, sit down somewhere. So I love Abba. He got a funny sense of humor sometimes. I had that revelation last night. I was like, okay, so no going backwards. And if I was able to tell you the rest of the dream, you would understand why that was actually significant that I said that. But no going backwards, you guys. Full steam ahead. And the funny thing is, I remember the dream that I had told you guys. So in my video, Stand in Power, I had mentioned a dream that I had about me floating over like this large area. Like, it was dark outside and I was floating over this large area, and it was, that area was just flooded. And I said it was a city down there, and I didn't know what city it was, but you couldn't see it because the floodwaters had just consumed this city. And then, you know, I said that the enemy was coming in like a flood. And then literally, like, the planet started to flood. Now we know the earth is not going to flood again, thanks to the promise that Yahuwah gave to Noah. But I'm just saying, like, places literally started to flood after that. And I was like, whoa. But that's when I was given the revelation about Babylon. So it wasn't, the reason why I wasn't given a specific city like, you know, Tokyo or Missouri or something like that is because it literally was Babylon. That was the city that was flooding. Remember I said, or I'm sorry, let me correct myself. You remember Ruach HaKodesh said through me that Babylon is the city of the beast system of the kingdom of kingdom of darkness. I'm sorry. The kingdom of darkness. So that was the city that was underneath there, Babylon. And I only know this because of different things that's on YouTube, because I try not to watch the news. The news is depressing, and the news is just another medium. So the word medium, the plural form of the word medium is actually media. You can look that up. Media is the plural form of the word medium. And what do mediums do? They channel spirits, which is why The TV stations are called channels, which is why even the YouTube stations are called channels. YouTube channel, which is another revelation that Ruach HaKodesh gave me yesterday, like why he wants me to get off YouTube, because it's a channel. We're channeling spirits. And I have to apologize to everybody that has been watching my videos, because I realize that the words that I have been speaking have been of Abba Yahuwah, but because of the group that I had been watching, I did not realize that their prideful, haughty, unloving nature was rubbing off on me. I mean, when you sit under certain people, that whatever spirit they carry, when you submit yourself to an authority, whatever spirit they carry is the spirit that you carry. So you will see me start to get back to my more loving and, fun-loving nature, because no. But anyway, get off the channels, you guys. Get off the channels. Get off the channels. Get off of social media, because it's literally channeling spirits. And the news is just a television show like every other show, you guys. I want you to understand that the news is not real. I do not support any president, but I will say this much. Our 45th president, and I'm purposely not saying his name, but he was telling everybody that the news was fake. It's fake news. And like I said, I don't support him or any other president, but I will tell you this much. He wasn't lying. It's fake. They're telling you what they want you to know, because they're hurting you. They're hurting you like the sheeple that most people are. They're hurting you. Through fear-mongering. I mean, fall on your face, seek the Father, be in his presence. Don't succumb to these channels. That's what I meant to say before I go. One of the degrees the degree that I actually got, I was attempting to get another degree, but then they put a cap on financial aid and I wasn't able to finish my second degree. But the first degree that I have is in criminal justice. All of my professors were currently working in the criminal justice field. So I had a teacher that she was a detective, and she worked the Trayvon Martin case. She couldn't tell us a whole lot of things because during the time I was in college, that case was active. So she couldn't tell us anything. The only thing that she did tell us was, don't believe what you see on the news. And then she went into this whole spiel, because she works because I was actually part of the Cold Case Institute that she started at our college, and we worked on actual cold case files. So we got to look at the crime scene photos of different cold cases and so on and so forth, and give our input on the different things. Because, you have a fresh set of eyes, then, you might, like, we were working on, if we were to give some information that could have assisted in the case, they would have used that. Like, these were real cases. I said all that to say, like, she told us as a teaching moment, she said, just understand that the news never reports the truth. And she left it at that. So ever since then, I don't watch the news. Why? If they're not telling me the truth, why am I watching them? Why am I eating the lies? I'm just saying. All right, let me go into work and get this day over with. I love you guys. I really do. Okay. Until next time. Shalom. All right. It seems like lately I've been having way more dreams remembering more dreams than I have in the past few years, which typically I'm used to remembering my dreams. But anyway, so I know I talked about the dream with the tornado that I realized it didn't have any power because there was no wind. But then, that's a revelation in itself, because Ruach means breath. It means wind. And the tornado, the beast, had no wind. It had no breath. It had no breath of life. Revelation time. Anyway, So last night I had a dream. Now let me set you up for this dream first, okay? So since 2008 is when I first officially entered on to the narrow path through Christianity. And I do believe that many of us enter through Christianity because it's the most familiar and it is the closest to the path, but it's anyway. So I would have dreams here and there where I would be somewhere, didn't matter where. Sometimes I'd be by myself, sometimes there'd be other people there, but there would be like paranormal things going on in the dream. And I would like rush in there, and then I would try to start saying the name of Jesus. And in the dream, I couldn't. The same way like when people have sleep paralysis, how like they're trying to speak and they can't, or when I would, or noises would come out, but it would just be like, and I couldn't say his name in my dream. I wasn't allowed. Like whatever entity was in the dream would overtake me, and I wouldn't be able to say his name. Well, I told you that because last night I had a dream, and in the dream, it was me, my dad, and my son. We were in a house, and the house looked similar to the house that we live in, but it wasn't the exact same. And so the house that we live in is very old, and it has wood paneling. If anybody has ever lived in a house with wood paneling, it's very dark and very depressing. But the hallway that leads to the bathroom, my bathroom, and my bedroom in the den that's across the hall from my bedroom is very dark because it's wood paneling. And even in the daytime, it's extremely dark going down that hallway. Well, I have a 6-year-old, and like most 6-year-olds, you know, he's not too friendly with the darkness. Like, he doesn't like the darkness. So my dad installed a motion sensor light at the beginning of the hallway. So as you're going down the hallway, the light comes on, and, you know, it was mostly for my son, but I mean, it does help because it do be dark in that hallway. It's like super dark. So in the dream, it was something similar to that, but instead of it being the light that came on in the hallway, it was a light that came on in a room. And my son, like in the dream, we were all standing, I mean, we were all up at the front of the house, and my son was heading towards the bathroom, and a light came on in one of the back rooms. And for whatever reason, the light coming on is not what scared my son. My dad said a light came on back there, so I got up to go investigate. And when the light shut off all of a sudden, that's actually what scared my son. So he came, you know, running back up to the front of the house. But I walked all the way back, and as I started walking all the way back, then my son started following me because I'm mom. So if mom's not scared, I'm not scared. But when I opened up the door, I immediately started saying, "You gotta leave. By Hashem Yahusha HaMashyakh." I was able to get that full phrase out. I was able to get the full phrase out. Then I started saying his name over and over and over again. I don't know about you guys, but that was very significant to me. Having those dreams in the past and encountering the same type of things in my dreams, and trying to say Jesus and being stopped by whatever was there stopped me. It came upon me and prevented me from saying his name. But it couldn't stop me from saying Yahusha HaMashyakh. Because Yahusha is ours. I just wanted to point that out. I love you.